gonna get there, yeah, somehow. Push my way through the crowd. I'm gonna grab you by the hand to a place where you stand proud. No fear, it's clear. I believe in you. I believe. I believe in me. Yes, I do. I believe that we, oh yeah, can make this dream a reality. Oh yeah, now's the time to be. Ooh, now's the time for miracles. Yeah, yeah, it's in my heart so deep. I believe. Oh yeah, stand proud, no fear, it's clear. I believe in you. I believe. I believe. I believe, yeah. Ooh, oh, oh, oh.
Good evening, and welcome to the Southland College Prep High School virtual Back to School Night. My name is Dr. Corey Levy, and I am the Director of Operations at Southland College Prep. Tonight, you'll be hearing from myself and a few of my colleagues speaking about various facets of Southland College Prep that makes us who we are in the area of education. Our theme for this evening and throughout the school year is Stronger Together. Seeing that we are currently in our new normal and attempting to navigate through uncharted waters, we must work hand in hand to ensure that our students are successful academically and social-emotionally. In order for us to be successful, I believe we must know the history of where we came from, understand how we arrived at this current juncture, and ultimately know the direction in which we are heading. Before we dive into our presentation, we would like to share a brief video with everyone.
When we prepared to open Southland College Prep, I talked about the dream, the vision, the mission of preparing our students to be competitive in a world that's larger than ours and to fill the hopes and dreams of the community. This dream was something that was very tangible to us.
Southland especially, I think, reflects the dreams and the passions of a community for excellence in education.
The question in this community was, where will your child go to high school? And it was a question that was of some concern.
And we were hoping and praying for a school that would prepare them for college.
From the first day, I could tell that Southland offered its students a lot of opportunities.
The opportunities you get here is just amazing. Like, you don't have to pay for your AP test here. You don't have to pay for your SAT or ACT test here. So it makes it not only affordable, but they really prepare you for what's to come.
I remember Dr. Davis was speaking. One of the most distinct memories I have from that day is when she gave us the holders for the diploma. And I was like, wow, this is the real deal.
I was 23 out of 25 on the waiting list. Day one, I had a positive attitude. I didn't care where I would be as long as I'd be under the Southland name, learning from Southland teachers.
And I'm so glad that I didn't turn my back and say I couldn't accept the challenge, because I stand here now and I've proven, as well as my peers said, we excelled and we did the best that we could.
The strong should take care of the weak. The students of today are the leaders of tomorrow. We are a family-oriented school. Anything worth doing is worth doing right. Our responsibilities never end. Our education is not end in the classroom.
Becoming role models, leaving a place better than we found it. If you really take hold of those lines and apply it to your life, you could make a profound difference.
Seeing the art program, the band, the chorus, drama, and dance, using it as a vehicle for teaching to present oneself with class and dignity and integrity is of the utmost importance.
My philosophy is always been that there's more than one way to solve a problem, that there isn't one correct way, and that problem solving is a creative process. It's not memorization as much as it is how to attack something.
Ultimately, I'm looking for them to not remember the things that we've read per se, or remember that, you know, Hamlet is a tragedy by Shakespeare, but rather that they can take those skills and then employ them in their lives beyond.
I think really it comes down to Mr. Anderson and Mr. Lane, because they really sit with you and really help you understand, you know, what's going on when it comes to post-high school life and how to understand where you're going and what's the best decision for you.
The goal was very simple. The goal was that we wanted to get all of our young people into a four-year college or university. But in addition to that, we wanted to get the very top of our class, students who were deserving of being in highly selective colleges and institutions. We wanted to be able to help them to access those institutions. It soon became apparent that the kids were very receptive. Over and above that, their parents were very receptive.
Quite a milestone for a group of students. Every member of the graduating class of Southland College Prep in Richton Park has been accepted by colleges and universities. Altogether, they've earned more than $5.5 million in scholarships.
A small high school in the southwest suburbs is helping to change the lives of its students.
Every student, all of you are all in.
Hofstra University.
University of Notre Dame.
Washington University.
Morehouse College.
Yale University.
Yale!
Yes.
And for the third consecutive year, the entire graduating class from Southland College Prep is headed to college. All 109 graduates have been accepted to schools across the country, including 36 of the top 50 ranked United States colleges and universities.
That is amazing.
What a group
Good
of
for,
students,
they need
right?
to be honored for that.
Exactly.
That is incredible.
An entire class of graduating seniors has a lot to be proud of.
The class of 2017 is all in.
$25,327,000.
That's how much these college-bound students have been awarded in scholarships to make their dreams a reality.
And the class of 2018 is all in.
Class of 2018 graduates notched $28.2 million in merit-based scholarships. Southland College Prep seniors have secured more than $100 million in scholarships with its first 5 graduating classes.
$100 million is a staggering figure, and it's really a staggering figure for 5 classes for the little engine that could.
You are all in.
The South Suburban High School gets ready for graduation. They have a big reason to celebrate. The entire graduating class got accepted to college.
Another reason to celebrate, this senior class was awarded more than $50 million in merit-based scholarships.
Congratulations. Now, Southland has had 6 graduating classes, and all 6 have had a 100% graduation rate. Way to go.
Wow.
The class of 2020, you are all in.
Circumstances may have forced them apart, but the senior class at Southland College Prep in Richton Park was all in as the school celebrated all 136 students in the class of 2020 heading to college. The class of seniors are the South Suburban Charter High School's 7th graduating class to all be accepted by an institution of higher learning, earning this year collectively nearly $60 million in merit-based scholarships. So far, graduating classes at Southland have racked up over $200 million in scholarship offers.
When historians write about the class of 2020, you know what they're going to say? They achieved despite everything. Not only have we prepared students to go on to college, and we've been able to provide the means, what we've been able to do is to stimulate a sense of hope. I know that it's a little bit old-fashioned, but a sense that the American dream, in the old definition of it, the definition that we had when we were growing up, the American dream, this business of coming to our shores and doing better than those who did before, the American dream can be achieved. And if you ask me how in the future you will define Southland College Prep, it will be about that dream. It will be about that mission. And it will be about the faith that we as a community, as a people have. And simply, that is Southland College Prep.
I'm Mr. Lane. I serve as the Director of College Admissions and Alumni Affairs here at Southland. We've had a great deal of success. And how? First and foremost, we are never satisfied with our results and outcomes. While there are always accomplishments to celebrate, there are always areas where we feel we can improve. So before we set course on our improvement plans, as a practice, we always pause and celebrate our children and their accomplishments. Our goal last year was to continue our march towards 100% college acceptance and securing enough scholarship to make college attainable. Not only did we hit our goal of 100% and 30 million in scholarships, the 133 seniors last year shattered the school record and amassed 60 million in scholarships. While our students are attending some of the best institutions around the nation and around the world, we're proud that we're forging new ground. For the first time, students were accepted to some highly prestigious institutions, including Brown University, Pomona College, and Georgia Tech, among others. But what is really exciting is that our students are enrolling at an incredible number of new schools all over the country for the first time ever. This fall, the class of 2020 is taking Southland for the first time to Dartmouth College, Johns Hopkins University, USC, NYU, the University of Virginia, and so many other places. Actually, Southland graduates are enrolling at 18 new universities this fall. Southland has truly established itself from an emerging school to one of the most sought-after feeder high schools in the state of Illinois for colleges and universities. Our students have now been accepted to every Ivy League school, 53 historically black colleges and universities, and collectively have amassed 200 million in scholarships in its first 6 graduating classes. Southland doesn't stop there. Our true measure of success is making sure that our students are actually enrolling in college and staying there. Using the data from the National Student Clearinghouse, we track that information here at Southland. Our goal last year was to ensure that 90% or more of our graduates enroll in college immediately after graduation. We've met that goal every year, and we did last year as well. Our secondary goal is to stay in touch and continue to support students in navigating college so that they persist and ultimately graduate. Eagle persistence is the most important metric here at Southland. Our goal last year was to have at least 85% or better to persist and stay in college, and we hit that goal as well. While the national average of college persistence is in the 60th percentile for all students of varying ethnicity, region, and socioeconomic status, Southland's rate has always remained in the 80th and 90th percentiles.
At Southland, our students finish strong because they start strong. Southland knows that a student is only as strong as the foundation that they establish with strong roots. To that end, freshman on track rate is something that we closely monitor. You may hear this term, but we want to make sure that parents understand what it means and why it matters. A student is considered on track if he or she has enough credits to be promoted to the 10th grade at the end of their freshman year and has no more than 1 semester F in a core course. According to a study conducted by the University of Chicago Consortium, on-track freshmen are 4 times more likely to graduate from high school than their peers who are off track. It is the greatest indicator across all geographic, ethnic, gender, and socioeconomic lines. In theory, if we can ensure that Southland students have a successful first year, they will have a successful high school career. Hence, preparing them for collegiate success. It is our duty as a true college preparatory program. When we began charting this rate, we observed that we were not doing a good job. In the 2014-2015 school year, our freshman on track rate was 74%. Since then, we have invested time and resources to make sure our first-year students are more successful. Last year's goal was that 95% of our freshmen would end the year on track. With a small class, this was a challenge, but we are happy to report that we hit our goal and 97% of our students ended year one on track. Regardless of the current pandemic, we will continue to invest our time and resources to make sure this year's freshman class gets the support they need to start high school strong. That work is anchored by the diligent work of the Freshman On Track team, consisting of myself, Ms. Francique, who is our 9th grade counselor, Ms. Gruzius, and Ms. Michaels, our Freshman On Track task force.
People ask, why are Southland students so successful in the college application process and in college? We point to the goals that we set as it pertains to college readiness. For too many American high schools, they allow students to leave for college unprepared. On the other hand, here at Southland, we're very intentional to reverse that trend, and we use college readiness benchmarks as a measurable way of charting our progress with your child. But what are they? The benchmarks are a cutoff score point established in math and reading by the College Board. It's been statistically proven that students who meet or exceed benchmarks have a 75% chance or better of earning satisfactory marks in college-level coursework. It's not a perfect science, but we'll take it. This is extremely important for our high school juniors, but it's equally important to our 9th and 10th grade children. Students who meet or exceed grade level benchmarks that we've established are on track to exceed the benchmarks on the SAT and the ACT. It's important to note two things. Number one, it's important to note that college readiness is a continuum. Students not meeting benchmarks can be successful in college, especially with additional preparation and perseverance. Southland has actually proven that. While not every Southland student hits these benchmarks, we see that Southland students are still very successful on the collegiate level. Number two, Southland's goals are actually higher than the college readiness benchmarks. We don't settle for average, so we work harder to provide the resources to ensure our students shatter those expectations. Now, how do we do that? We started by first finding the best partner we could in helping us do this work with fidelity. And to that end, we called Matt from Academic Approach.
Thank you, Mr. Lane, for your kind introduction, and thank you, Southland families, for having me here today. I'm Matthew Pietrafetta, founder of Academic Approach. I'm here to talk about our partnership with Southland and the unique opportunity for driving student achievement in a very challenging year. I'm going to go through the following topics in my presentation. Number one, I want to talk a little bit about Academic Approach and who we are. Two, the historical partnership with Southland. Three, how we're focused on high impact teaching and learning and how essential that is in this particular unique school year because of the problem of learning loss that we face. And then how we're going to deal with that problem with a solution, our 2021 Southland Plan for Student Success. And I'll end with a note on how you families can help. About Academic Approach, I founded Academic Approach in 2001. For 19 years, we're based in Chicagoland. We've been committed to raising students' scores and skills through skills-based test preparation. We have amassed expertise on the ACT and SAT over the years, and we're proud to support our student success both on and beyond the test. We focus on three major priorities embodied in these lines. Tests are standardized, students are not. So we believe in individualizing, personalizing our approaches to student achievement. We focus on skills-based test preparation. So we want to raise not only scores, but also academic skills. And we call that teaching beyond the test. So it's not just about gaming a test, teaching to a test. It's about giving students the skills to raise scores on the test and be successful in college and beyond as professionals in life. We are proud of our historical partnership with Southland. We've been working with Southland since 2014. This is our 7th year working together and collaborating and problem solving through innovation and a strong commitment to improving every year teaching and learning at Southland. We have had an impact through our direct instruction on the classes of 2016 up through the class of 2024, who actually worked with us in a District 162 partnership in 7th and 8th grade. We've been working with teachers on professional development and teacher support since 2014. Along the way, we've been committed to one thing: high impact teaching and learning. And what that means for us is measuring our impact. And with Dr. Davis's leadership and a very impressive Southland administration leadership team, we've been committed to outpacing key numbers. We measure ourselves against the college readiness benchmarks. And as you can see in the data, we are constantly measuring, are we exceeding those benchmarks? And we measure ourselves against state averages. And our goal with Southland is to beat the state average every year. So we hold ourselves to very high standards, and we perform consistently, and we push ourselves every year to perform better. We are committed to tracking and analyzing data to drive instructional decisions. As you can see, for class of 2021, we've had data points on them since they were freshmen, and we look at that data and we benchmark that data, and we use that to drive instructional decisions to continue to improve student achievement. So we have amassed a huge amount of data over the years. We reflect on it constantly to drive towards those high standards of student achievement that Southland, Dr. Davis, and the school administrative team holds themselves accountable to. Why now? Why is this commitment to high impact teaching and learning and data-driven instruction so important in this school year? It's so important because we face a unique challenge this year, a problem of learning loss that should not be underestimated. In a recent McKinsey study that was published in June, they tracked various scenarios for how remote learning could impact students' achievement as they return to the classroom. As we can see in the data, there's a natural dip over summer learning loss. However, that dip is either recovered from quickly or slowly or not at all, depending upon the amount of remote learning that students receive and the quality of that remote learning. As you can see, if the remote learning is low quality for a long period of time, students are going to be, by next fall, more than a full grade level behind. This learning loss is real, and it's a real problem we face. We have to think critically about. We have to be very aggressive in combating. In this sort of average scenario, we're contemplating 3 to 4 months of loss. With low quality remote learning for longer periods of time, we're getting up to 7, 11 months of learning loss. And no consistent instruction, which is what a lot of school districts are delivering to students, we could be losing more than a year. Southland will not do that, and we are committed to combating learning loss together as a team through collaboration and innovation. In a recent EdWeek study that was released, there is one solution. It is not surprising. You need high dosage instruction in order to combat learning loss. The best research out there indicates that if there's frequent, consistent, rigorous instruction, students will grow and we can combat the problem of learning loss. Since 2001, we've known that high dosage instruction, high impact instruction is characterized by 3 critical qualities. It's personalized, it's engaging, and it's rigorous. And we are committed to delivering to your students this year, as we have been every year, but more so than ever, a personalized, engaging, rigorous instructional solution. What is that solution? Let's talk about the plan for student success this year, what it entails, and how you can help. One critical component of this year's plan is assessments. Assessments have always been a part of our solution with Southland to drive student achievement, but this year more than ever, they take on a greater importance. We need to know where students are, we need to know how much learning loss there has been, and we need to react to that with instructional solutions. So we'll be focused on fall, winter, and spring assessments, 9th through 11th grade. That will involve SAT, 12th grade, ACT to guide them into the October ACT. We'll be delivering formative assessments through our My Academic Approach platform that teachers will be sending quizzes to students to take through that interface and be using all that data to drive instructional solutions. We'll be focused on direct instruction. As we said in the research, there is no replacement for high impact, high dosage teaching. We need lots of teaching hours to compensate for learning loss. We'll be delivering 12 hours of ACT preparation to seniors, 36 hours of SAT instruction to juniors, and an additional 12 hours to juniors of focused math instruction. The data shows that math, among all the subjects, is most vulnerable to slippage or COVID slide, learning loss during remote learning, so we want to combat that with more time on task, more instructional hours. And finally, we'll be working, as we always have, with the faculty, supporting their excellent instruction, giving them support around e-learning best practices to make remote learning as engaging as possible, using data to help them drive instructional decisions by department so they can focus their instruction on the most high-impact teaching. And then, as I mentioned, providing formative assessment support so they can give little quizzes, snapshots, giving insights into key skills to drive their reteaching of students, to drive the continuous academic improvement forward. How can you help? How can families help us in this important work, this important mission this year? You can, number one, help students attend. Be ready, be on time. In all of our research, the number one correlating factor with high student achievement is attendance. You've got to show up, you've got to be there, you've got to be early for the session, not coming in late, you've got to be prepared, have your homework ready. Attendance, this is not surprising, is correlated with great student achievement, and you can help. We can make sure your students are prepared, you can make sure they take it seriously, you can make sure they are logging into that session or they are arriving at school for hybrid learning on time, always consistently, and attending. Number two, you can help at home minimize distractions and maximize focus, particularly during assessment events. As I mentioned earlier, assessments have never been more important. We need student data and we need to be reliable because it's critical this year to drive instructional insights and instructional responses. So can you help to make sure, when you know a test is coming up, that the students are ready, prepared, undistracted, other siblings or other members of the household are being quiet and respectful, so the student can concentrate and give the very best data back to us and their teachers so we can drive the very best instruction. And then finally, ask questions and promote engagement. You know, at the end of the day, ask around the dinner table, tell me one new thing you learned today. Make sure students are reflecting, that they are processing what they're learning, that you're holding them accountable to make sure that they are taking the information in, internalizing it, and sharing it with you. So be a participant in their learning process, make sure they're engaged, they're reflecting, reach out to teachers, ask questions, and be a part of this communal effort. Your Southland team, your Southland leadership, Academic Approach, and you joining together in a very unique year to combat learning loss. And together, we're optimistic we'll make this year, despite its challenges, a success for Southland students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. So here's where we left off last year. Specifically, our freshmen were off to a tremendous start. Entering at 802, they roared up to 850 in only 4 months. That's growth greater than a typical year. They lost a few points on the February assessment, but were within striking distance of actually exceeding the 9th grade level benchmark of 860. They closed the gap in both areas of reading and math. Our sophomores were on par for a record-breaking year. At the end of their freshman year, they actually shattered the sophomore benchmarks with a score of 921. Coming into the fall, they were already at the benchmark, and by December, they were 50 points exceeding the end-of-year benchmark. They're anchored by superior proficiencies in reading. They took a major step backwards in February, as you can see, but all arrows were pointing to gain those points back on the actual test. Unfortunately, we will never know how they would have done due to the shelter in place. Our juniors fought a mighty battle last year. Entering the year at 919, they were nearly 100 points short of the end-of-year benchmark of 1,010. Typical annual growth at this grade level is only 35 points. But this did not stop them. By February, they actually closed the gap to less than 20 points as they posted a composite score of 983. The greatest factor in their growth was unquestionably in the area of math, which they closed the gap immensely. Again, the shelter in place really leaves us only with what ifs. In all, growth was strong in every grade level. The sophomore slide from December to February was something that Southland never experienced, but we were primed to correct that prior to the big test at the end of last year. As the data clearly illustrates, Southland is perennially fighting an uphill battle in the area of math. Students are entering behind, so our strategy is to throw as much time, resources, and attention towards filling those gaps and closing that chasm over the 4 years so they're prepared for college-level math rigor. So, where are we now? Research due to the quarantine has delivered alarming predictions. There have been elementary school studies to show a potential 30 to 60% learning loss in reading and math due to the pandemic. So it was imperative for us at Southland to not only get our teachers together to collaborate and devise a plan of action, it was also important to gather as much data on where our students are. This is no easy task, especially during the pandemic. We mailed, as you know, hundreds of physical copies of test booklets, and for the first time ever, held a remote benchmark assessment complete with online proctors over the course of a week. Last week, to be specific. We understand that the process would not be perfect. We understood that the data would not be as accurate, but we needed to get as much as we humanly could so we could know where to meet our students. Every student and every family will receive a copy of their child's individual test report. We've already processed the data from last week, and here's where we are. Our first-year students posted a composite score of 766. This is nearly 100 points short of the end-of-year college readiness benchmark. This means we have a lot of work to do. Clearly, we want to gather many more data points to ensure we have accurate information. Our current sophomores look to be on track. Anchored by strong performance in reading and math, they are settling in just fine. We hope to far exceed college readiness benchmarks, hoping to break 950, which would actually be exceeding the national benchmark by almost 50 points. Our current juniors seem to be fluctuating. Posting a 941 last week, this puts them right in between their scores from last December and last February. Needless to say, we'll be monitoring their next set of scores on the National PSAT assessment held here at Southland on October 14th. It is evident that our juniors are currently struggling in math. Based on the current data, we know exactly where the levers need to be pulled. To their credit, they have already exceeded the college readiness benchmark in reading by 20 points. We will still push heavily on literacy so they can shoot for the stars. Our seniors are in an extremely tricky situation, but we are ready for it. As we mentioned before, they were roaring into a tremendous position right before the shelter in place was ordered by the state of Illinois. Last week, they took an ACT assessment, which is fundamentally different from the SAT. As a result, they were met with a new format and new material. The rationale for the ACT is that we have them registered as seniors to take both the ACT and the SAT in October. The ACT is first, which is why we conducted said assessment, and it will be held at Southland in person on Tuesday, October 6th. If we converted last week's performance to an SAT equivalent, they scored a 950. This would place them right below their scores from last December. We firmly believe that they will perform better now that they are more familiar with the format. Furthermore, they are being provided with 90 minutes of ACT preparation every Friday through the school day through the entire month of September. Their weakness is certainly in the area of math, something they really closed the gap on last year, actually growing 40 points in math alone from the beginning of the year to last February. And to remind you, typical growth for the entire 11th grade score is only 35 points, and they grew 40 points in math alone by February. After they sit for the ACT in early October, we will shift gears and provide 90 minutes of SAT preparation every Friday leading up to that final test. The SAT will be held at Southland in person on Tuesday, October 27th. As senior families are already aware, all colleges and universities have adopted a test-optional admissions policy, meaning that all students have the choice to submit test scores as a part of their admissions applications or not. But here at Southland, we want to provide every senior with every opportunity to post strong scores that will bolster their applications. We're confident that the majority of our seniors will be able to use either the ACT or SAT scores to help them gain admission as well as valuable scholarships. Let's provide some freshman focus. So, taking a look at the performance last week on our assessment, we saw that our ninth graders did very well in certain areas, but there's still a lot of room for growth. Specifically, in the area of reading, we had 37% of students that are demonstrating they're hitting the college readiness benchmarks in reading, with 13% of them very close. So that takes us to about 50% of our ninth graders really on track in the area of reading. In the area of math, 18% of our ninth graders are at the benchmark where they need to be to start the year, 20% being close, taking us to about 38%. There's a great deal of work we need to do there in math, but it's good to know that we have this data to get us started. Let's take a look at the sophomores. As you can see, last year, their growth through the year was 85 points. And that may or may not impress you, but you should know that typical growth for an entire academic year is anywhere from 30 to 40 points. So to see our sophomores last year gain 85 points in an abbreviated year is quite a feat. And as you can see, the success was almost evenly distributed in reading and math with 41 and 42 points respectively. On last week's assessment, what we were able to discover is that 58% of our students are already on the benchmark in reading, with 11% close behind, taking us to almost 70% of our students where we want them to be. In the area of math, we had 24% of our students that are hitting the benchmark already at this point in math, with 26%, which is a very large number and a subset, that are close. So that takes us to almost 50% of our students where they need to be in the area of math. Historically, those are very good, encouraging numbers for us when we work with our sophomores to help close the gap. Let's take a look at our juniors. 11th grade and junior year is the most important year in high school because it's the year in which grades are most heavily scrutinized by colleges, and at the end of the year, fingers crossed, they're going to sit for the college entrance exams, specifically the ACT and the SAT. Last year, this year's juniors had a 33-point composite growth, which is typical growth, specifically 22 points in reading and 12 points in math. We want and demand more in terms of growth, and we have to work with them this year so that they can close the gap. As we mentioned earlier, our juniors are immensely talented in the area of reading. As you can see, 55% of the students last week demonstrated their proficiencies by hitting the college readiness benchmark last week with 17% within striking distance. This takes us to 72% of the entire junior class where they need to be in the area of reading, which is certainly something to celebrate. In the area of math, which is their weakness, 17% of our students demonstrated those benchmark numbers last week with 10% within striking distance. This places us only at 27%. So this means that our junior class needs to think, prepare, and reflect to do our absolute best to close that gap in math so it can match and be commensurate with the success that we've seen in reading. So for our families out there, math is definitely going to be a focus for our juniors this year. For our seniors, this is all about college. We want to make sure that in their final year, we're delivering the rigor so that they're prepared for college. But specifically, our focus this year with the seniors is about the SAT and the ACT. Due to the shelter in place, our students were not able to sit for the exams in which they traditionally do in the spring. So we have made the adjustments so that they can sit for them in October. So our focus, obviously, in the beginning, is to focus on the SAT and the ACT. Last year, as you can see, their growth was outstanding. 66 points in a composite growth over the course of last year, which is almost 2 years of growth, up only until February. And you'll note that 22 points was in reading and a whopping 43 points in math, which is really showing and demonstrating that they went after their weaknesses to help close those gaps. So, as we discussed, our senior focus will be all about preparing them for the assessments that will be taking place in October. Last week's benchmarks assessments were extremely valuable to us. As you can see, it gives us a sense of where each grade level is, and fortunately for us, we know exactly where every individual student is as well. Armed with this information, our teachers are empowered to use data-driven instruction to begin the reclamation process, as well as pushing to make sure that our students continue to reach, meet, and exceed college readiness benchmarks. We will continue this process whether we're remote, in person, or hybrid, because this data is extremely valuable towards our academic plan. So now that you know a little bit more about our academic plan, you have to know that this year is different. We have to cast an even closer set of eyes and ears on our students' well-being in ways that are challenging, especially through a remote lens. We cannot lose sight of the fact that the resonances of this pandemic can have a deleterious impact on many of our children. And this is why Ms. Blissett and her team are so important. She's going to come to you now to share a little bit about what Southland is doing proactively to support our students.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Good evening, Southland family. The Southland College Preparatory High School Special Education and Student Services Department provides support to staff, students, and the community to meet the comprehensive needs of every student, as well as to ensure college career readiness and life development. The Special Education and Student Services Department provides academic, social, emotional, behavioral, and medical intervention to support all students in order to promote student success. The primary goal of the Student Services team is to help students academically, socially, emotionally, and behaviorally succeed in school. As students attend and graduate, we want them to be happy and safe and make progress towards their potential as effective learners, confident individuals, responsible citizens, effective leaders, and contributors to society. Southland's practice of including students with diverse learning needs within the school community fosters our philosophy that all students have the ability to go to college. Our inclusive practices support our students by offering a variety of services that are tailored to meet the unique learning challenges. We continually strive to support inclusive practices while customizing the learning experience for each of our students. One way we've been able to accomplish this goal is through the addition of our guidance counselors. They work closely with our students on college and career exploration and choice, while teaching the importance of grades, GPA, test scores, organization, and time management. In addition, they also assist in the area of social emotional learning. Let me take a moment and introduce our counseling team. First, we have Ms. Millicent Griffin. She is our school social worker, case manager for 9th through 12th grades. Next, we have Ms. Madeline Francique. She is our 9th and 10th grade counselor. And lastly, we have Ms. Andrea Stone. She is our 11th and 12th grade guidance counselor. This school year, the guidance counseling department will facilitate social emotional lessons during PE periods. 9th and 10th grade lessons will take place on Tuesdays and Fridays. 11th and 12th grade lessons will take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Additionally, our guidance counselors will also hold chat and chew sessions on Monday and Wednesday during 4th and 6th period. Any student may join in the chat and chew for their grade level. All links to the chat and chew sessions are located in the PE Google Classrooms. To make an appointment with one of our guidance counselors, please fill out a student referral. All links to the Google form are located in the PE Google Classroom. Within the counseling department, social work services are also available to meet the social emotional needs of our students. To make an appointment with the school social worker case manager, please fill out a referral form by clicking the link below, or contact Ms. Millicent Griffin at mgriffin@scphs.org or 708-748-8100 05, extension 4188. The Special Education Department offers a continuum of services for our students with special needs that meet state and federal requirements. Under these requirements, Southland College Preparatory Charter High School provides support to meet the needs of students with disabilities in their least restrictive environment. Our inclusive instructional practices are designed to provide individualized accommodations, modifications, and/or special education services within the general education setting to the greatest extent possible. If you have any questions concerning the Special Education and Student Services Department, please contact me, Mrs. Shelia Blissett, at sblissett@scphs.org or 708-748-8105, extension 4141. As a member of the leadership team, we created 9 levers this year that our entire staff is committing themselves to. There are 3 that we feel were most important to share with our families this evening. Dr. Levy, tell us about the first lever.
If we are to overcome any learning losses that our children may face in their learning and competencies, we have to know where they are. Our top mission is to identify and recover lost learning. We first have to identify what has not been taught. Thankfully, we have an extremely collaborative staff. We spent 2 weeks prior to the start of the school year to prepare ourselves and also allow time for staff to communicate with each other to identify where things left off last year. What was covered, what wasn't, what was mastered, and what was not. Combined with that information and our beginning of year assessment, we're on our way. What will come next is many informal assessments along the way. Those bell ringers in classes to start each day are invaluable to chart growth and reclamation. Fortunately, we were off to a good start last year. In fulfilling our mission towards reclamation, we can move toward our goal to meet and exceed college readiness standards, undeterred by COVID-19.
Coronavirus? No problem. When it comes to college attainment, our mission cannot and will not be deterred by COVID-19. Our second mission lever is to maintain college as usual. How do we deliver the same college outcomes in the midst of an unparalleled situation in the area of college admissions? This work began this summer as students and families took advantage of remote technology to meet, plan, prepare, and strategize. While many students have just begun the school year, as of September 15th, all of our Southland seniors have been trained in Naviance, a tremendous college planning platform. They've also registered for the Common App. They've also completed their first draft of their college admissions essays, and students have actually already been applying to college. Our famed Southland College Presentation Series is still going on as planned and scheduled. Again, taking advantage of technology, we have already scheduled our 35 colleges for the year. Each presentation is led by actual decision makers at colleges, many of the times the actual person who will be reviewing their application.
Lever 3 is a major part of our mission anchored in support and empathy for our students, family, and staff. These are unprecedented times. While our charge is about educational attainment, you cannot perform if you are not at your best. Nothing will move forward if we don't support everyone's well-being through such a challenging time. How will we systematically take care of our teachers and students during this time? Our counselors will be working with students during lunch periods, physical education classes, to check in with students and discuss topics and leading discussions in relation to wellness. Our social worker will be checking in with me to ensure that students who are showing any signs that suggest they are in need of support are tended to. Social work minutes, related services, and counseling minutes mandated by IEPs and 504s will be honored regardless of our remote model. With respect to teachers, we're doing everything we can to keep them safe and healthy here on campus. Staff members are also encouraged to be more transparent and open about any challenges that they are facing personally, at home, and with the stress and demands of teaching in this new model. It goes without saying that the administration has stressed to staff to always take the necessary time to take care of themselves so they can deliver 100% to our students and families.
We hope this information has been helpful for you to understand our charge this year. We encourage you to set up Google Meet/Zoom sessions with our teachers if you would like to speak with them directly. You can find contact information for our entire staff on the website. If you need PowerSchool login credentials to monitor student grades, do not hesitate to contact the main office for assistance. Let's conclude with our goals for the year, and those are: Number 1, attendance. No plan will work if children are not present and active in the current e-learning environment. Our job has become more difficult when students are not in session for the entire period, if students are participating with videos off, or they are not visible on camera. Remember, to be present is to be engaged. Our second goal relates to college readiness benchmarks. We have a difficult and challenging road ahead of us to hit these goals, but we refuse to let COVID-19 stand as a roadblock. To that, our end-of-year composite scores for each grade level are 890, 950, and 1020 respectively. As evident by the data we gathered last week, we have our hands full at every grade level. Our third goal relates to student outcomes. We want to maintain strong freshman on track percentages and excellent outcomes for this year's senior class. We expect all of our seniors to be accepted to college and not lose a single step in their charge to be awarded all the scholarship money they deserve. We are well on our way to meeting these goals. We thank each and every family for your time and for being invaluable stakeholders in our success. We hope this information has been helpful. Be on the lookout for individual score reports for your child from last week and throughout the school year. Remember, in the face of adversity, unlimited potential, unlimited possibility. We are Southland College Prep. Have a great evening.
And go Eagles!